The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, Part 8, starting at letter number 22. My dear Wormwood, so, your man is in love, and in the worst kind he could possibly have fallen into, and with a girl who does not even appear in the report you sent me. You may be interested to learn that the little misunderstanding with the secret police, which you tried to raise about some unguarded expression in one of my letters, has been tidied over. If you were reckoning on that to secure my good offices, you will find yourself mistaken. You shall pay for that as well as for your other blunders. Meanwhile, I enclose a little booklet just issued on the new House of Correction for incompetent tempters. It is profusely illustrated, and you will not find a dull page in it. I have looked up this girl's dossier and am horrified at what I find. Not only a Christian, but such a Christian, a vile, seeking, simpering, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal, bread and butter miss. The little brute, she makes me vomit. She stinks and scalds through the very pages of the dossier. It drives me mad, the way the world has worsened. We have had her to the arena in the old days. That's what her sword is made for. Not that she do much good there either. A two-faced little cheat, I know the sort, who works as if she'd faint at the sight of blood and then dies with a smile. A cheat every way. Looks as if butter wouldn't melt in her mouth and yet has a satirical wit. The sort of creature who'd find me funny. Filthy, insipid little prude, and yet ready to fall into this booby's arms like any other breeding animal. Why doesn't the enemy blast her for it, if he's so moonstruck by virginity, instead of looking on there, grinning? He's a hedonist at heart. All those fasts and vigils and stakes and crosses are only a facade, or only like foam or in the seashore. Out at sea, out in his sea, there is pleasure and more pleasure. He makes no secret of it. His right hands are pleasures forevermore. Ugh, I don't think he has the least inkling of that high and austere mystery to which we rise in the misophoric vision. He's vulgar, Wormwood. He has a bourgeoisie mind. He has filled his world full of pleasures. There are things for humans to do all day long without his minding in the least. Sleeping, washing, eating, drinking, making love, playing, praying, working. Everything has to be twisted before it's in any use to us. We fight under cruel disadvantages. Nothing is naturally on our side. Not that it excuses you. I'll settle for you presently. You have always hated me and have been insolent when you dared. Then, of course, he gets to know this woman's family and whole circle. Could you not see that the very house she lives in is one he ought never to have entered? The whole place reeks of that deadly odor. The very gardener, though he has been there 5 years, is beginning to acquire it. Even guests, after the week-end visit, carry some of the smell away with them. The dog and the cat are tainted with it, and the house full of the impenetrable mystery. We are certain it is a matter of first principles that each member of the family must in some way be making capital out of others, but we do not find out how. They guard as jealously as the enemy himself the secret of what really lies behind this presence of disinterested love. The whole house and garden is one vast obscenity. It bears a sickening resemblance to the description of one human writer's made of heaven. The regions where there is only life, and therefore all that is not music, is silence. Music and silence. How I detest them both. How thankful we should be that ever since our Father entered hell, through longer ago than humans, reckoning in light years, could express no square inch of infernal space, and no moment of infernal time has been surrendered to either of those abominable forces, but all has been occupied by noise. Noise, the grand dynamism, the audible expression of all that is exalted, ruthless, and virtual. Noise which alone defends us from silly qualms, despairing scruples, and impossible desires. We will make the whole universe a noise in the end. We have already made great strides in this direction as regards the earth. The melodies and silences of heaven will be shouted down in the end, but I admit we are not yet loud enough or anything like it. Research is in progress. Meanwhile, you, disgusting little... Here the MS breaks off and is resumed in a different hand. In the heat of composition, I find that I have inadvertently allowed myself to assume the form of a large centipede. I am accordingly dictating the rest to my secretary. Now that the transformation is complete, I recognize it as a periodical phenomenon. Some rumors of it have reached the humans, and a disoriented account of it appears in the poet Milton, with the ridiculous addition that such changes of shape are a punishment imposed on us by the enemy. A more modern writer, someone with a name like Pshaw, has, however, grasped the truth. Transformation proceeds from within and is a glorious manifestation of that life force which our Father would worship if he worshipped anything but himself. In my present form, I feel even more anxious to see you, to unite you to myself in an indissoluble embrace. Signed, Toadpipe. For his abysmal sublunary under Secretary Screwtape, TEBSECT. My dear Wormwood, through their skull and her disgusting family, the patient is now getting to know more Christians every day, and very intelligent Christians too. For a long time, it will be quite impossible to remove spirituality from his life. Very well then, we must corrupt it. No doubt you have often practiced transforming yourself into an angel of light as a parade around exercise. Now it is time to do it in the face of the enemy. The world and the flesh have failed us. A third power remains. A success of this third kind is the most glorious of all. A spoiled saint, a Pharisee, an inquisitor, or a magician makes better sport in hell than a mere common tyrant or debauchery. Looking around your patient's new friends, I find that the best point of attack should be the borderline between theology and politics. Several of his new friends are very much alive to the social implications of their religion. That in itself is a bad thing, but good can be made out of it. You will find that a good many Christian political writers think that Christianity begins going wrong and departing from the doctrine of its founder at its very stage. Now this idea must be used by us to encourage once again the conception of a historical Jesus, to be found by clearing away later assertions and perversions, and then to be contrasted with a whole Christian tradition. In the last generation, we promoted the construction of such a historical Jesus on liberal and humanitarian lines. We are now putting forward a new historical Jesus, a Marxian, catastrophic and revolutionary lines. The advantages of these constructions, which we intended to change every 30 years ago, are manifold. In this first place, we all tend to direct men's devotion to something that does not exist, for each historical Jesus is unhistorical. The documents say what they say and cannot be added to. Each new historical Jesus, therefore, has to be got out of them by suppression at one point and exaggeration at another, and by that sort of guessing, brilliant is the adjective we teach humans to apply to it, on which no one would risk 10 shillings in ordinary life, but which is enough to produce a crop of new Neapolitans, new Shakespeares, and new Swifts in every publisher's autumn list. In the second place, all such constructions place an importance of their historical Jesus in some particular theory. He is supposed to have been promulgated. He is to be a great man in the modern sense of the word, one standing at the terminus of some centrifugal and unbalanced line of thought, a crank vending of panacea. We thus distract men's minds from who he is and what he did. We first make him solely a teacher, and then conceal the very substantial agreement between his teachings and those of all other great moral teachers. For humans must not be allowed to notice that our great moralists are sent by the enemy, not to inform men, but to remind them to reinstate the primeval moral platitudes against our continual concealment of them. We make the sophist. He raised up a Socrates to answer them. Our third aim is by these constraints to destroy the devotional life. For the real presence of the enemy, otherwise experienced by men in prayer and sacrament, we substitute a merely probable, remote, shadowy, and uncouth figure, one who spoke a strange language and died a long time ago. Such an object cannot be fact be worshipped. Instead of the Creator adored by his creation, you soon have merely a leader acclaimed by a partisan, and finally a distinguished character approved by the judicious historian. And fourthly, besides being unhistorical in the Jesus it depicts, religion of this kind is false to history in another sense. No nation and few individuals are really brought into the enemy's camp by the historical study of the biography of Jesus. Simply a biography. Indeed, materials for a full biography have been withheld from men. The earliest converts were converted by a single historical fact, the resurrection, and a single theological doctrine, the redemption, operating on a sense of sin which they have already had, and sin, not against some new fancy dress law produced by a novelty by a great man, but against the old Platonic universal moral law which they have been taught by their nurses and mothers. The Gospels come later and were written not to make Christians, but to edify Christians already made. The historical Jesus, then however dangerous he may seem to be to us at some particular point, is always to be encouraged. About the general connection between Christianity and politics, our position is more delicate. Certainly, we do not want men to allow the Christianity to flow over into the political life. For the establishment of anything like a really just society would be a major disaster. On the other hand, we do want, and want very much, to make men treat Christianity as a means, preferably, of course, as a means to their own advancement, but failing that, as a means to anything, even to social justice. The thing to do is to get a man, at first, to value social justice as a thing which the enemy demands, and then work him on the stage at which he values Christianity, because it may produce social justice. For the enemy will not be used as a convenience. Men or nations who think they might revive the faith in order to make a good society might as well think they can use the stairs of heaven as a shortcut to the nearest chemist's shop. Fortunately, it is quite easy to coax humans round this little corner. Only today I have found a passage in the Christian writer where he recommends his own version of Christianity on the ground that only such a faith can outlast the death of the old cultures and the birth of new civilizations. You see the little rift? Believe this, not because it is true, but for some other reason. That's the game. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. My dear Wormwood, I have been in correspondence with Slum Trumpet, who is in charge of your patient's young woman, and begin to see the chink in her armor. It is an unobtrusive little vice that she shares with nearly all women who have grown up in an intelligent cycle, united by a clearly defined belief. And it consists of a grand, untroubled assumption that the outsiders who do not share this belief are really too stupid and ridiculous. The males who habitually meet these outsiders do not feel that this way. Their confidence, if they are confident, is of a different kind. Hers, which she supposes to be due to faith, is really largely due to the mere color she has taken from her surroundings. It is not, in fact, very different from the conviction she would have felt at the age of 10 that the kind of fish knives used in her father's house were the proper or normal or real kind, which those of the neighboring families were not real fish knives at all. Now the element of ignorance and naivety in all this is so large that the element of spiritual pride so small that it gives us little hope of the girl herself. But have you thought of how it could have been to influence your own patient? It is always the novice who exaggerates. The man who has risen in society is over-refined. The young scholar is pedantic. In this new circle, your patient is a novice. He is there daily meeting Christian life of a quantity he never before imagined, and seeing it all through an enhanced glass because he is in love. He is anxious, indeed the enemy commands him, to imitate this quality. Can you get him to imitate this defect in his mistress and to exaggerate it until there was vinyl in her becomes in him the strongest and most beautiful of the vices, spiritual pride? The conditions seem ideally favorable. The new circle in which he finds himself is one of which he is tempted to be proud for many reasons other than its Christianity. It is a better educated, more intelligent, more agreeable society than any he has yet encountered. He is also under some degree of illusion as to his own place in it. Under the influence of love, he may still think himself unworthy of the goal, but he is rapidly ceasing to think himself unworthy of the others. He has now no notion how much in him is forgiven because they are charitable and made the best of because he is now one of the family. He does not dream how much of his conversation, how many of his opinions are recognized by them all as mere echoes of his own. Still, less does he suspect how much of a delight he takes in these people is due to the erotic enhancements for the goal. For him, spreads over all her surroundings. He thinks that he likes their talk and way of his life because of some congruity between their spiritual state and his, when in fact they are so far beyond him that if he were not in love he would be merely puzzled and repelled by which he now accepts. He is like a dog, which should imagine it understood firearms, because its hunting instinct and love for the matter enable him to enjoy a day shooting. Here's your chance. While the enemy, by means of sexual love and of some very agreeable people far advanced in his service, is drawing the young barbarian up to levels he would never otherwise have reached, you must make him feel that he is finding his own level, that these people are his sort, and that, coming among them, he has come home. When he turns from them to other society, he will find it dull, partially because almost any society within his reach is, in fact, much less entertaining. But still, more because he will miss the enchantment of the young woman. You must teach him to mistake this contract between the circles that delight and the circle that bores him for the contrast between Christians and unbelievers. He must be made to feel, he's better not to put it into his words, how different we Christians are, and by we Christians, he must really but unknowingly mean my set. And by my set, he must mean not the people who in their charity and humility have accepted me, but the people whom I associate by right. Success here depends on confusing him. If you try to make him explicitly and profusely proud of being a Christian, you will probably fail. The enemy's warnings are too well known. If, on the other hand, you let the idea of we Christians drop out altogether and merely make him complacent about his set, you will produce not true spiritual pride, but mere societal vanity, which by comparison is a trumpery, puny little sin. What you want is to keep a sly self-congratulations mixing with all his thoughts and never allow him to raise the question, what precisely am I congratulating myself about? The idea of belonging to an inner ring, of being in a secret, in a very sweet to him. Play on that nerve. Teach him, using the influence of this skull, when she is silliest, to adopt an air of amusement and the things the unbelievable say. Some theories which he may meet in modern Christian circles may here prove helpful. Theories, I mean, that place the hope of society in some inner ring of clerks, some trained minority of theorists. It is no effect of yours whether those theories are true or false. The great thing is to make Christianity a mystery religion in which he feels himself one of the initiates. Pray, do not fill your letters with rubbish about this European war. Its final issue is, no doubt, important, but that it is a matter of the high command. I am not in the least interested in knowing how many people in England have been killed by bombs, in what state of mind they died. I can learn from the office at this end that they were going to die sometime. I knew already. Please keep your mind on your work. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.